Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Boot Nerds podcast. What's up, Jay?
What's up, guys? Yet another week, yet another podcast, and this one is a gold one, if I dare say.
It's a busy week.
It's a busy week. We've already had a couple good launches. I think we should take a look at those today. Do that first. Then obviously we have our Q&A. But what you should remember before we get started, and this is important because we want to spread the word about the best boot podcast and the only boot podcast on YouTube, you should make sure that you're all subscribed, and then you should also hit the like button because it spreads the word and gets the word out. So please do that before you show you the good stuff.
That would be excellent. Tell your friends, have them subscribe, make them subscribe. And if you want to listen to the audio-only versions, bootnerds.com, also linked in the description.
Exactly. Now, should we take it away with, what should we start with? We have something from Nike, we have something from adidas. What do you want to go first with?
I think there's only one thing to start with, and that is the Predators.
Boom. 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 So basically, for those of you who are on the audio-only version, I hold now in my hands the Zinedine Zidane Predator Accelerator in gold, white, red, and navy. And you might be thinking to yourselves, why on earth is it gold, white, red, and navy? Well, there's a pretty good story behind that. There's also, of course, a very good story behind the David Beckham Predator Precision that I think you all know. So which do you want to start with, Josh?
Let's start with the gold ones, because I like the gold ones. I'm a fan.
Have you had them in your hands yet?
I have not in my hands. I haven't seen them in person at all. Is the blue really that blue? Because
it's more like a navy thing.
It's a dark navy because it almost looks black in most of the pictures I've seen.
True. I think when you get it in hand and you actually get to shine light on it, you can definitely see that it's navy, and it also makes more sense because obviously we all know that Zidane won the World Cup with France in 1998. And he wanted to celebrate that victory. But looking back at his previous celebration boots, he got a gold Precision and he got a gold Absolute, but he never really got a gold Accelerator. And the funny thing is that the Accelerator actually was Zidane's favorite Predator. So he told adidas when they approached him that, yo, guys, I want a gold Accelerator. And I wanted to really pay tribute to our World Cup victory. So adidas sat down and said, okay, we want the tricolor, the three colors of France, red, white, and blue, and we want it to be gold. So what did they do? They made a gold boot, red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm. It was weird. When I first saw them, I thought, oh, it's kind of unusual seeing such a classic Predator in a colorway that you've never seen before. Which still kind of throws me off a little bit, but I do think it's cool because throughout Zidane's career, he did have quite a few kind of player-exclusive gold colorways that were never released to the public. So the fact that we're getting one of those now, I think, is pretty awesome.
The funny thing is that it's actually the same as the previous remake we've seen. Actually, both of them, both the electricity and the black and red one that we actually did a video together on. Last year, the first Unisport SR4U collaboration video ever was on the Predator remake, and now it's here in gold, so it's basically the same, except for the fact that it has ZZ for Zinedine Zidane on the back. So otherwise, it's completely the same, and of course, we still have the Predator 18, 19 plus actually outsole on it. There's boost in it. You get it all.
I'm actually really excited about those.
And they feel cool. I mean, obviously, if you've had one of the other remakes in your hands, it's the same. It's still a 1-to-1 upper compared to the very first Predator. I have the original here in my hands, and basically the stitchings, the rubber elements, the leather, it's all the same. But of course, the outsole is not this like sumo wrestler of an outsole anymore. It's not as heavy anymore. It's just a Predator 19 plus tooling that's been slapped on the upper. But otherwise, it's actually the same as it was back in 1998. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I love that they do this kind of stuff.
But you said you didn't really fancy the fact that it was a never released gold colorway.
No, I do like that. I think I think it's a little strange to see any kind of classic, because the classic Predators, unlike now where we get a new colorway every 5 minutes, back then it was like one Predator model had like what 4 or 5 colorways. Like
Yeah, it wasn't much.
you would only ever see them in a couple different variations. So to see a boot that you're used to seeing in like 2 or 3 different colors and in such a kind of unusual colorway, if you want to call it that, it's a little weird.
And it's true, but I also think, something in me really wanted them to bring back another classic Predator Accelerator colorway. It could be the white and black and red, which was, no, Zidane never wore it, but it was just really, really cool. On the other hand, it's a nice, opportunity for people who have a full set of OG accelerators. They have all the remakes. It's a nice way for them to actually own a gold accelerator because this is the first one ever made. So for me, that's pretty cool. But I mean, I wish the stripes had been. I know it's a nice story, but I wish the stripes had been black.
I agree. I think that would have looked a little bit better.
But
sure.
it's honestly, it's just nice. The leather tongue is still there.
Actually, Jay, I don't know. Do we want to show some fake boots on the podcast because they're right next to me and it's actually really funny. I happen to look down and I'm like, oh my god, look what I got. Woo. Exactly. But you know what? I think the black stripes do look better. I have to say. Okay, that's enough of that.
So for people who can't watch and is on the audio only version, Josh basically held up the authentic looking gold, black, red Predator Precision that Zidane wore, which was obviously a bad fake. But cool story, bro.
Jay, they're definitely real though. You can't see the tag, but they're made in Germany. Absolutely.
Just like these are made in Indonesia, but it doesn't matter. They're actually still really, really nice. And they feel like the accelerators evolve. To me, the OG accelerator is one of the most, I dropped it, is one of the most beautiful boots that's ever been made. One of the most iconic looking boots ever. So I really, really like that. But with that said, I actually think that these are cooler. The
definitely
Beckham
cleaner. Yeah, I mean, it's more true. It's basically like the original, just with the new sole plate, right? But it's such a clean look. It's hard to get mad at anything all mostly white with red and silver accents. Like you can't go wrong with that.
I know, and it just has the precision. Just looks a little bit sleeker and more streamlined compared to the accelerator, despite the fact that the instep is actually a little bit higher. It's ridiculously high on this one.
Really?
I'd actually forgotten how high it was with the extra, like there's an extra piece here on the top of the instep that really goes up very, very high. Of course, it also gives you a bigger contact surface with the ball, which was the entire purpose of the Precision. But it's just, like it's a very bulky boot compared to today's standards.
Yeah, that's I think the shocking thing for me when I started wearing the remakes is like, oh wow. You have these like fond memories of these old school Predators, but then you put them on and it's compared to what you've been wearing for the last 10 years, it's nothing like what we currently have. It really is. It really does feel old school.
So much. And it's just crazy to think that people back then had such good technique that even with these bricks on their feet, they could really handle the ball so well. I'm very, very impressed with that because it does feel more difficult to have this nimble touch on the ball that I personally really like. But we've also grown up in a different age with football boots, right?
I just talked about this in a video that I made where basically like the last 25 years since 1994 with that OG Predator, like football boots have changed so tremendously. It's crazy. Like we've grown up in an era where football boots went from being Copa Mundials to the space sock boots that we have now. Like the amount of change that has happened every couple of years in this industry is insane.
I know. And it's probably only going to evolve even more over the next just 5 years.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it's still a nice boot, but in these 18 years that have passed since the Precision 2s came out in this colorway, I mean, so much has happened. And although I like the nostalgic feel of wearing these, that are also, by the way, completely one-to-one, still it has Velcro on the tongue, so it actually stays down, which is nice. But I wouldn't wear this neither in training nor in a match, to be honest.
See, that's a preference thing. I totally would. If you gave me those for the rest of the season, I'd wear them, no problem.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
See, I know a lot of people who would too, but I've just gotten used to the nimble, really tight-fitting feeling of modern boots. It might just be me.
Yeah, no, again, everyone likes something a little bit different. So that totally makes sense. That's fair. I think your opinion is probably more so what 99% of people would agree with these days.
Probably, yeah. But the good thing is that these are also, we also discussed it at the Unisport HQ. The cool thing is that these are actually boots you can go out and wear. I mean, if you fancy the feel of boots back then and you miss the old school Predators, well, you can actually take these out, rock them, and get a good performance out of them. That's what they're made for. So I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're definitely made to be worn for sure.
Absolutely. Now, I was also thinking about, I was a little bit disappointed about the fact that on the heel of the DB Predator Precision, they don't have the Champions League stars as he had on his Champions League boot back then. What are your thoughts? Does it matter to you?
I mean, I always thought that was really cool as a kid. That embroidery symbol I just thought looked really good. Mm-hmm. But that's not an uncommon thing for any company making kind of retro releases, if you will. I don't know how familiar you are with the Jordan remakes, but whenever they remake the classic models, there's always like one or two very small things that they'll change just so you know that it's not exactly the original or it's a little bit different than the last time they remade it. They always do those little things. So I understand why they didn't. It makes sense with the pack if the whole marketing thing is about Zidane and Beckham.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have rather had the original logo for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's like when Nike remade the Flyknit Razor multicolor, the OG colorway. They had a gray tongue instead of a black one. Like these little differences, so people, the OG people out there, can still look at them and think, "Yo, I got the first, first edition." Yeah. Maybe that's fair enough. But which is your favorite out of these two?
The white ones. I would rather own the Precisions, and I'd rather play in the Precisions. For sure.
Yeah. I agree. And I think most people out there would probably agree as well, because this is just a little bit more streamlined. And it's just such an iconic boot, right? I still remember watching the goal against Greece and getting goosebumps every time I see it. That goal, Old Trafford goes nuts. The commentator screams, "Give this man a knighthood." I mean, it's perfect. Pure passion. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a cool story.
Yeah. So great release from Addy there, and I think cool putting Zidane and Beckham together. And also, it's going to be pretty fun. We've got a cool piece at Unisport coming about what happened when we met Zinedine Zidane and David Beckham, because we met him and we made some pretty cool stuff with him for this release. So you guys can all look forward to that. And you haven't seen it either, Josh.
No, I have not seen it.
No, so that's that's pretty nice. Do you want to move on to Nike, or any more comments on the Addy stuff?
No, I'm feeling charged up. Let's go.
Ooh, now that was a nice little transition. This is the fully charged Phantom Venom. It is full of, should we say, it's got a graphic of a dark sky, and do I sense like black hints of lightning? And then these like really bold, almost fiery red, orange accent colors. It's wild. What do you think?
It reminds me a lot of what was the Adidas pack that they did? Was it Lightning Storm? When every pack was some kind of a storm.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think it might have been Lightning Storm.
Might have been.
That's what they really remind me of.
Lightning Storm inspired with like it's got these black lightning graphics on the inside. Definitely gives you this dark Lightning Storm vibe.
Yeah, my initial impression was that they look a lot like something that has been kind of custom painted. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of the custom boots out there, or even just definitely. Custom shoes in general. It's like that kind of a pattern that they would typically like paint on, but that's what they've done with this colorway. That's what it reminded me of. It also looks a lot like the EA Sports colorway.
I totally agree on that. I was going to say that it really has that EA Sports colorway vibe to it. I really like the little accents here, the red accents on the fins, But other than that, I'm not really sold on it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
Nah. I mean, it looks cooler on foot, I'd say, than in hand, just because especially the Phantom is just such a cool silhouette. But just in hand, it looks a little bit, for me, it looks a little cheap, to be honest. It doesn't look as premium as, say, the black looks or even the launch colorway of the Phantom Venoms. But it might just be me, who doesn't have a thing for graphics in general. No,
I agree with you, because when you take I think what Nike does really well with a lot of their boots right now is that they look very technical.
Yes.
And when you put a pattern over top of that, it kind of hides everything. And then you just end up with this kind of blob of a pattern covering up the complexity of the design.
I think those are very, very, it's pretty spot on what you just said right there. It's basically, it just looks a little cheap to me. Like, I know it's not very nice to say, and Nike probably won't like this. I think it's a cool looking boot, but it's just not the best colorway for me. But maybe it's also because I'm old and I'm not really into this whole wild thing. So maybe there are people out there who are just thinking, oh my God, I need to own it.
And yeah, you know what? I think that's going to be the case with this kind of colorway. Because look at the Adidas glitch. Like all these wild patterns and prints that they put on the up. Honestly, I think some of them are the most goofy thing in the world. Like I have those the glitches I have that I wore. I felt kind of slightly embarrassed wearing them just because they're so flashy. But you know what? Like 99% of people who saw them, they asked me what they were and told me how much they loved them. So
really,
I guess I'm not cool when it comes to what I like. I don't know.
Were you playing with like 10-year-olds?
No, they were a lot of guys my age, believe it or not. I know.
Well, either it's just you and me who have really, really bad taste, or just our minds are getting too old, or just, maybe we've just lost touch with the consumer base out there.
I don't know. I'm not into colorways that look like you like reached into a random box of Legos and just started like mixing all the colors together.
But I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing with especially the Phantom. I'm not going to mention the Vision because I don't think it looks that cool. But with the Phantom, I think the boot silhouette makes it look really strong. And the more I wear this, the more I'm backed in my line of thinking that I really like this boot.
Yeah, you're still on the Venom bandwagon?
I'm still on the Venom bandwagon. And it might not, you talked about it looking very technical. And it might not feel, as premium and as lovely as some of the other flyknit boots Nike have made. But it just works. The fit is amazing for my foot. The way the connection with the ball when you strike it, I really, really dig it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely solid. There's not too much I can criticize about that boot right now.
But that's the thing with most boot, right? These days, most boots are just really, really solid.
Yeah, it's hard. When you're buying top-end boots, unless there's some kind of a major design flaw, it's hard to really pick apart anything. Anything that you could view as a negative almost becomes more of a preference negative rather than like, this is legitimately a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And normally I would say, with the Phantom Visions, I'm not necessarily a fan of the construction of those. I think the sock feels a little bit cheap and stuff, but I know you like them a lot. So just goes to show different preferences.
Yeah. For sure. All right, let's move on to Balotelli.
Before we do that, though, I just I got thought of a question here. I wanted to ask you for the whole remake thing. What would you do next if you were Adidas? Because obviously now we've seen a lot of remakes of the Accelerator, which makes sense. It's a very iconic, popular boot. Now we have 2 remakes of the Precision. Actually, we've got 4 of the Accelerator, also with the Revenge pack, which was terrible. But I mean, what about this guy? Now they've successfully remade the Accelerator 1-to-1 upper. They've made the Precision 1-to-1 upper.
Yeah, they're kind of avoiding. Again, I think it depends on how old you are, but I've always viewed the Mania as like the Predator. That to me it's it. Like just aesthetically feel like that's the one I remember. When I think classic Predator, I think Predator Mania, personally.
Yeah. I mean, isn't this the biggest no-brainer ever? Just remake this.
Yeah, for sure. You would think they'd do it by now. I'd also really like to see a proper remake of the OG. I think That would be cool. With a leather upper.
Honestly, I don't think anyone would buy it. I would definitely get it, but I don't think anyone, bar the most hardcore nerds, would get it, because I don't think that many people get the significance. Whereas with the Accelerator and the Precision and the Mania especially, there's like this emotional connection where people who wore it back then have now grown up and remember those days fondly, you know, with big hair and wearing the, you know, tight-fitting Kappa Italy t-shirt and, you know. That was me, by the way.
Yeah, no, but yeah, Mania seems like the logical way to go. I've had a lot of people ask me about why they haven't remade like an Absolute or a Power Swerve, or I guess even a Predator Pulse, but I don't think those bear the same significance to the Predator line that Mania, Precision, and Accelerator do. I think those are really the three icons in that line.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the Addy Power is an excellent boot. I think the Addy Power could be the modern day Predator right now,
dude.
Without any problems at all.
You and me were soulmates, man. I've been saying this for years, and no one's been listening to me. The Addy Power is fantastic.
Yeah, it's the problem with the Addy Power is I think it was very well received. Unfortunately, it didn't sell that well, and that was coming off of the Predator X, which. Everyone has their opinion on this, but I think the Predator X is really what killed the Predator line initially.
Oh, it was terrible. It was absolutely disgustingly bad.
See, I had a pair, and I like them.
Really?
But yeah, I actually like them. It's one of the few boots with the wraparound burrito style tongue that I ever liked. Maybe if I wore them now, I wouldn't like them as much. But as a kid, I actually liked them. I don't know.
I hated them with a passion.
But that's the thing. Like so many people who like wore Predators for such a long time, they saw the Predator X, and it was just such a. Not only was it just straight up ugly, not only did it eliminate the tongue, but then they killed the kangaroo leather aspect as well, which I think people did not care for. So then the Addy Power came out, and it was significantly improved.
Oh, yeah.
But at that point, people had lost interest.
Exactly. The funny thing with the Addy Power was that it was, you know, potentially and still is the perfect boot for making those ping passes. Honestly, it's the boot I feel the most natural in pinging passes. It's comfortable. It's relatively low profile. I love it. Man. I've really stuck up on the Addy Power.
Here's my suggestion, Adidas, if you're watching. Again, you know, you have my address. Just send me the check. It's fine. Take the Addy Power. Get rid of the leather. Replace it with Prime Knit.
No.
And then just sell it like that. It makes total sense. No. You make it a one-piece sock upper. You maintain the rubber element. You don't need the leather. Nobody wants leather anymore. It's a lost cause at this point. It's great, but nobody wants it anymore.
Why not?
You don't even have to change the tooling for the sole plate and the stud pattern. You bring that back. People will be super excited just about the stud pattern. It's a recipe for success.
How if you took the fusion skin from the Copa 19 Plus, because you can do stuff with that, right? And then you welded the striking elements on top of that. Boom.
You could do that too. But I just think the knitted upper makes more sense, especially if they're going to try to go head-to-head with the Venom.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
Right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. I think leather boots...
OGs, man.
Yeah, no, the original was great.
Yeah, it was. But you're the first guy to say this. I mean, I've been agreeing with a lot of people over the Power Swerves that they should bring them back. But you're the first one who actually agrees with me on the Addy Power. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, because the thing about all the Predators that came after Mania is they were all just variations of Mania.
Yeah,
right.
To some extent,
I think like Accelerator was its own thing. Precision was a big upgrade.
Yeah, and
then Mania I think was another big upgrade on top of that.
Exactly.
And then really, Pulse was a Mania that wasn't as good looking.
Yeah.
Right? Absolute was even worse looking than that. Power Swerve, I think, was a little bit better looking, and then they screwed it up.
I think Power Swerve was actually the first significant step away from the whole Mania DNA. I think, yeah, with the different kind of rubber elements and stuff, but no, that's another discussion, I think. Because Balotelli.
What'd you think of that, Jay?
Well, we texted. It happens sometimes. We texted the other day, and I asked you if you saw the Balotelli celebration that was all over the internet, and you were like, "Yep, I saw it." I hate that guy. And I was thinking on the other end, this is the coolest thing ever. So talk to me.
You made a good point in saying that you're a footballer. Your job is to go out there and perform. So for 90 minutes, just play and don't worry about social media and don't worry about any of that. But this was obviously a premeditated thing.
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it must be.
And I've obviously the whole celebration thing is something that people really like. Griezmann's been in the news a lot for his video game Fortnite celebration thing, which I still have not played Fortnite. I don't know about you.
No, same.
Absolutely no interest in going anywhere near that stuff.
Nope.
But people seem to really like the fancy celebrations.
Yeah.
It's never been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think it's a little bit embarrassing personally, but hey, if that many people like it, then more power to you.
But let me put it this way, because I thought about it. And do you remember back when Totti scored in, I think it was the Rome derby? It was a really important match at least. And he went out, he got someone's phone, took a selfie, and everyone was just like, oh, Totti is the coolest guy ever, man. This is just so awesome. He's just going with the times and blah, blah. And then it's Balotelli and everyone hating on him.
Because I think it's just because Balotelli has such a history with just saying dumb things, doing dumb things.
Totti was spitting. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Totti. I think he's, I got mad respect for Totti, but it's just, I get that Balotelli he's not God's best child. I think that's fair to say. You probably won't disagree with that. And I know Totti hasn't exactly set a bathroom on fire with fireworks. But still, I mean, I think it was actually pretty cool what Balotelli did. It showed, it wasn't just, showing off and look at me and my fancy cars and my big earring with a feather in it, which is ridiculous, by the way. But it was actually some way of connecting with the fans and showing the joy of the moment. I actually appreciated it. No,
I mean, it worked out. I mean, there's nothing, I'm not like mad at the guy for doing it. I just, like, if you ask me if I think that was
fan mail,
right? Like, if you ask me, oh, Josh, did you think that was cool? I'd say no. Mm-hmm. And it's like something that I would never, ever even attempt or think about doing. It's just, I don't know. It's not my thing. I'm of the opinion that live your life and like social media is kind of like an extra thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I don't like having to live my life and then worry about, oh, you know what? This is pretty cool. I should post this on Instagram. Like, that's just not a great way of living your life, in my opinion.
Well, I follow that. And definitely, a lot of people have different, should we say, attitudes towards social media and how much of your life you should share. Obviously, this is a kind of the next step. Also sharing, a part of the actual football match. Did he get booked? I reckon he should get booked. Because it's kind of disrespectful to the opponent team, right?
Well, we talked about VAR last week. They're going to maybe have to put in a rule where it's an automatic yellow if you make an Instagram post during the match.
Probably. I mean,
come on.
And who knows if it's going to be a thing. I thought it was, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. It gave me a little giggle.
Okay, here's a solid conclusion to this. It was cool. Don't do it again.
Yes. Unless you're Totti, in which case you can always do it, because Totti, you rock. With those words, I think we should move on to the Q&A section.
Okay, let's do that.
All
That's
right.
fair. All right, I got a question right here. This is from Jordan Tubbs. He says, do you think brands should invest into custom boots that pros wear, such as Messi, Bale, etc., and make them available to the public, or make them into different silos? So he's basically saying, why don't the brands give us the custom variations of the boots that pros actually wear?
Yes, and it's a good question, and it's a fair question. I get why, because, if Messi has a Messi boot, why don't we get the exact boot that Messi is wearing? And same thing with Bale. I mean, why can't we buy Bale's modification? And it's probably because Bale's modification is like, I don't think anyone bar Gareth Bale would actually like to wear that boot, because it is rock solid, as in stiff, Very, very, very stiff. I don't know if you saw our interview at Unisport with him that Jolta did. He said that he really likes no excess space inside his boots. He really likes them tight, restrictive. I don't think he said that, but that's how I interpreted it. That, like, he really likes them to be super, super responsive. So his boots are rock solid.
You know what? I think that's the funny thing about people who think, oh, I would really want what the pros actually wear. But I mean, I've had some firsthand experience with seeing actual pro issued boots. You do as well. I was there. You have quite a few in your collection. And I think often what I've noticed with a lot of these pro issued boots is they're not super thin. They're not super light. They're not flexible. They're not really what the industry has actually trended towards and what people, I guess, perceive to be really good. A lot of the pro issued stuff is kind of the boots from like 5 to 10 years ago that these guys don't want to switch out of, but they're being paid to represent the new models. So they kind of make them a custom variation that looks like the boots that everyone can actually buy, but they're more like the boots that we used to have.
Exactly. And okay, with Messi, yes, we could get the burrito tongue. Would that be a big change? I don't know. I mean, would I wear it? Probably no. But, Messi likes it that way. But I don't really think that to me doesn't really matter. But in the case of, Bale and all the other guys that you mentioned, it's often made to their personal specifications. If they have like a weird bump on their heel, or, they have a slightly tighter forefoot, so they need a bit of extra reinforcement. As on Coutinho's Vapors, he had some extra stitching on the forefoot. Like, we don't really need that because they're made exactly to their feet, right? So it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing for yours or my feet to have those modifications. So that's probably the reason why. Adidas and Nike, they want to sell the boots that are best for as many people as possible. And that wouldn't exactly be something you can say for the pro modifications. Except if you talk for a little bit, I'll find something from behind me.
Okay, no, but that's exactly what I was going to say. That the brands produce boots for the whole market, everybody. They want as many people to fit into the latest Mercurial as possible. When it comes to the custom modifications, I think what a lot of people get caught up in, especially somebody who would watch the Boot Nerds podcast as an example, I would say is a pretty hardcore enthusiast. And while you might go in a comment section of the Unisport channel or my comment section and see all these people that like they know about these customizations, that is like 0.01% of the entire market of people buying football boots. Most people have no clue that Messi wears a custom version of the Nemesis. Most people have no clue that Cristiano Ronaldo's Mercurials are custom fitted to his feet. Nobody knows this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the hardcore enthusiast. So yeah, maybe as a limited run, it would do well. But for the most part, I don't think that the vast majority of people would care or know the difference.
No. I've got this. You probably know what this is. You can see from the height of the collar and the toe box. It's a pro version Predator 18.1 that actually has a leather forefoot. Now, it wasn't available to buy until very, very late in the product cycle, but there only existed like a very limited amount of boots. But they were basically made for the pros, and this is one of those things that it would have been nice to have the modified Predator with a leather forefoot. But other than that, when they're actually made for the a specific pro, other than just being something like this so everyone who wanted leather could get it, I don't think it's a very good idea to release, honestly.
Yeah. But you know what is a good example? A few years ago when Puma they did a couple releases. They did a Marco Reus boot. Yeah. They did a Fabregas boot. I think they even did a Balotelli one. And it was like the custom version that they actually wore. And I remember getting the Marco Reus Evo Speeds and thinking, wow, the upper is thicker. It's stiffer. They're heavier. They're like 2 or 3 ounces heavier than the retail variation. It's just a totally different thing.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I don't know.
And you can, if you can get that, we had that question in the last podcast. If you want a Puma Future 19.1 the way Griezmann wears it, well, you just buy the Puma Future. You take out the laces and boom, you're sold.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But, all right, next question.
Okay, let's move on. What do we got here? Javox 90 asked, why does Nike doesn't sell long sleeve jerseys?
Solid question. I totally understood what he meant. Now, why doesn't Nike sell long sleeve? Well, they do. Like, I mean, we sell them at Unisport.
It's this is a question that I actually get a lot. It's market specific with that kind of thing, meaning that the European market, it's a lot more common to sell a long sleeve shirt because football in general is more of a winter sport there, no?
Oh, it definitely is, yeah.
Right? Where in the US, which would be the biggest market for them to sell a long sleeve shirt, it's totally a summer sport and you probably wouldn't be wearing a long sleeve shirt there. So, I mean, I used to work at, well, we'd call it a soccer store, football store. We're not going to have that argument here. And we used to carry the short sleeve version and the long sleeve version of all the shirts, basically. And if we sold 100 shirts, maybe 2 of them were long sleeve.
Oh, really?
So that's really what it comes down to. Is it's pretty proven at this point that in the U.S. market or the North American market that long sleeve shirts just don't sell. So I think it got to a point where they were selling so poorly that they just stopped bringing them in.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Because in Europe, I mean, they actually sell pretty well. We do stock quite a lot of long sleeve shirts, and it's like this extra thing that if you have the long sleeve version, you're either really cool or a proper fan. I always went for the long sleeve shirt. Like back when I actually wore football shirts every day. I don't anymore. My girlfriend doesn't like it, so I have to obey. But I think, long sleeve shirts are definitely more popular here. And we have long sleeve shirts for basically every big Nike club I can think of. So,
yeah, that's the thing is it has to be, when you're a store, you order from the brands and the brands only make certain products available to you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're a retailer in North America, it's not that you're not bringing in the long sleeve shirt. It's just not made available for you to order.
Just like with this, right? Or
can
you get this in these in the States?
Yeah, no, that has released here, but they'll sometimes stagger boot releases for Europe. Like right now, you guys just got the Predators. I don't think they're releasing in North America for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, then it's a good thing you can get it on unisportstore.com. Shameless plug.
Yeah, it's there. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, definitely.
What do I got here? Joel Winter asks, do you think that lace covers on boots such as the Vapor 4 and 5 actually worked?
Yes, in completely destroying your feet, totally they work. In covering the laces, not at all. I mean, they were too thin for me. They were just in the way. I actually got the lace cover off of my Vapor 4. Never bought the Vapor 5 because I hated the 4 so much.
Yeah, the lace cover, basically all the lace cover did on a Vapor 4 and 5 is it made it extremely difficult to put the boots on for the first probably 25 times until it stretched a little bit. Then it wasn't such a big deal, but it was still always kind of just in the way.
And it just gave this weird, it fixated the midfoot in a weird way that combined with the heel gave me such terrible blisters. We've talked about this before, but it was so bad. And when I cut it off, I didn't experience anything even half as bad. So it was just, for me, it was just in the way. It never worked. I mean, I hated it.
I love how that was the standard for Mercurials back then. When I cut the lace cover off, I only got blisters half the amount of time.
And I mean, I felt completely good with that. I was like, oh, revelation, hallelujah, thank the Lord.
Because if you wanted a mercurial fit and feel, you just had to live with the blisters. There's nothing else like it.
That was a deal. That was the deal. I mean, I think if I wore one of my personal favorites, the Vapor 3s today, I mean, I would hate them because you just got the blisters.
Yeah, so it was part of it.
That's the way it was. But do I think that lace covers work today? I would say, for instance, on the Phantom Vision, do I think it works in really cleaning up the striking surface? I mean, not really, but it definitely feels more, should we say, streamlined and unified, the whole upper. So to that extent, yeah, I think it does an all right job. But it's actually also because it's thick enough for the laces to not really have this, should we say, they don't give this bumpy texture to the lace cover. So you don't really feel it. It's a help me out here. I'm rambling.
It's I know exactly what you're saying, but at the same time, would that boot really feel different if the lace cover wasn't there?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
So
the lace covers cover the laces. Yeah. It seems to be a thing that's trending in football boots right now. But yeah, it's the effectiveness and I guess tech behind a lace cover is being blown out of proportion.
Do you remember the fantastic Puma V110 and the 11s?
The V1, yeah, I remember the V110 coming out.
That had the lace cover. That was a proper lace cover. It was ugly as wow, it was so ugly. But you know, the yellow, black and red, the McDonald's, Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hey, I want to hear the funny story about that. So when I used to work at a soccer store, we had, I mean, Nike and Adidas outsold pretty much everything.
Okay.
But the store had a Puma account mainly for the shirts. So we'd have the odd sale of a Puma boot, but nobody really wanted that kind of stuff. And we had 3 pairs of V110s in that yellow color. Just 3 pairs. That's it. And I didn't start working at the store until like 2012, 2013, probably.
And you still had him.
So they still had all 3 pairs, and they were discounted to like, I think it was like 70% off. And it was a challenge between me and the girl that worked there, who could sell one of these shoes first. And like everyone that would come in that was like one of these 3 sizes, we'd always have them try that on, and we could never sell these things.
It was just terrible. If you liked the toe poke, that was a perfect boot.
Oh, but it just even felt weird. Like there was a pair, like the one pair was my size, and it's like I put them on. I'm like, how could anyone possibly like this?
Yeah,
it's just it was just bad. The V series from Puma, V108, V110, and V111. V111 was definitely the best, but they were all weird.
The SLs were nice though, and the V106s were also. I like those. They tore immediately, but they were fantastic.
Yeah,
that's the way it goes.
Yeah, but
overall,
covers,
no, lace covers don't really do anything. Don't believe that.
They don't do much. Yeah,
so, they're also not in the way, unless it's on a vapor pool. But yeah,
yeah, unless it's like an F50 tune it, then it's like you've added a mountain of material on top of your foot. All right, question from NUFC: What are your guys' thoughts on secondhand boots?
I mean, would I personally buy them to wear them? No, probably because someone else has broken them in. But I think that, you know, if you want to buy secondhand boots or get secondhand boots because you're a collector, it doesn't really matter. Some boots can only be found used. And similarly, I would say that if you can only afford to get secondhand boots, why not? I don't think it's bad as long as they're
I think the budget thing is a lame excuse. You can get new boots for almost nothing these days.
That's true. But I mean, if you want
there's so many releases now. You can go to basically any large online retailer and they have inventory that's 6 months old that they're almost giving away.
That's fair, yeah. I mean, I don't have anything against it, but you definitely make a fair point that, you know, there are so many good boots on sale these days that why not just go and get one of those? Okay, you don't get the latest colorway, but you can still get a lot of quality, so it's actually new. Fair point. I'm totally buying it.
Yeah, no, but I think you're right in the first thing you said, that having somebody else's boots that they've already broken in and have molded to their feet, like I think people really underestimate how big of a difference that makes when you actually go and try the boots. I don't know if you've ever tried to wear one of your teammates' boots that wears the same size. Yeah. You put them on, you're like, what the heck? They feel terrible.
I've worn a couple of boots that Jolter has worn, and obviously he has really wide feet, like humongously wide feet. And we're basically okay in the same size sometimes, and you know, I just can't wear them. His foot pressure on the insole is weird, and it doesn't feel good. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, if you can avoid it, by all means avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what else we got here? Oh, I already answered that one. Doing a great job. See, I don't normally do this. You do this?
Yeah.
So that's why it's...
I just came back from a long shoot, so I asked Josh, can you please find some questions?
All right, here we go. John Gomez. Hey, guys, I wanted to ask you what you guys think of the old carbon fiber Nike sole plates, more specifically the Superfly 4 one, because I'm a Mercurial guy, and I wanted to buy a pair of Superfly 4s for nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. He's asking about the carbon fiber sole plates.
It was sick, bro. It was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved the snapback, which was so good. It was very, very stiff. You know, the whole toe off, push off thing. I'm trying to show it to the camera, but the whole, you know, the sense of really being pushed forward when you bend your foot and it snapped back to a like a straight position was amazing. It had a very springy feel to it that I think glass fiber couldn't. It doesn't give the same snappy feel. Nylon is also pretty good, the one they used on the Vapor 11, but it doesn't have the same like super snappy feel as on the carbon fiber.
Okay, I don't want to crush your dreams here, Jay, but I was working with C6 Agility, they have sponsored the podcast. Thank you to them for that. I was working with them to develop a full carbon fiber boot. I made a few videos on the channel. And the project, it basically came to a halt. It didn't make a lot of sense to continue to move forward. But the owner of C6 is a carbon fiber genius.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the first things I asked him when he approached me to help him develop this boot is I asked him, like, what do you think of the carbon fiber sole plate on the Mercurials, right? Because he said, I'm going to want to make a full carbon fiber boot. What do you think of the idea? And I immediately thought, how would it compare to Nike? And he said he's had plenty of them there that they've deconstructed. The amount of carbon fiber in the sole plates that Nike was doing is laughable. It's plastic and resin and like just enough carbon fiber to look like carbon fiber. There's absolutely like nothing there that's like making a significant impact on anything. So
what
when he sent the first samples,
okay.
It's just the stiffness of it's just how they did the plastic, right? Because if you remember the initial, when they first launched the carbon fiber sole plate on the Vapor 4 SL, it was a lot more, it was still stiff through the midfoot.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more flexible through the forefoot. And what was happening is that the flexibility in the forefoot, as you would run, because the midfoot was so stiff, it would just crack at the base.
Oh, basically. I remember that. Yeah.
Right? It was super common. Like I remember I got a pair of Vapor 4 SLs on sale. I was so excited about them. I wore them in training the first time and they broke. And I was just bummed. Terrible. But apparently the amount of carbon fiber in those sole plates is negligible. And then when I finally got the first samples of the carbon fiber sole plate that C6 developed, it blew my mind because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it was just like pure carbon. There's no other filler at all. And it's like, it's a completely different feel. I should have brought them when I visited you guys just to show you because it's there's nothing I've ever held or worn that feels anything like it.
So is it what even more snappy, or does it feel more like responsive than the Superfly full plate?
It reminded me, you know, the 99 gram Addy Zeros that had that super, super thin plastic.
Yeah.
So we're talking that kind of thickness, but like no stud pressure and super solid. And yeah, with that kind of spring back type sensation, it's really unbelievable how strong the material is. But this is like, I don't remember exactly what it was. 10, 15 layers of carbon fiber that are like pressed using these super expensive fan sheet machines. It's just like they're shin guards where they're somehow managing to put so many layers of carbon fiber, but still maintain such a like super slim profile.
Yeah.
But it's just remarkably strong somehow. It was pretty incredible. But the carbon fiber sole plates from Nike, I guess, were to a carbon fiber expert kind of a joke.
Okay. Well, I still like them.
I still like them too. I think they were really cool. But I think part of the reason why Nike got away from them is because it simply isn't the best way of making a light product.
Oh, true.
Right?
It's very
I think one of the funniest things is when Nike put out in 2008 that Mercurial SL, the full carbon boot. And it was, I just did some research on it, so I know this off the top of my head. It was 190 grams, which is roughly about 6.7 ounces. That's pretty much the same weight as the current Mercurial Vapor 12 Elite.
Exactly.
But at that time in 2008, that was like mind-blowingly light. And then 2 years later, Adidas came out with the original F50 Addy Zero that was like a full ounce and a half lighter and half the cost, and all made out of plastic. So I think what the industry is trended towards is that plastic is just lighter than carbon fiber in the way that they could make a full carbon fiber boot that would be super light and super strong and all that stuff, but they'd have to charge you $600 for it.
Yeah, okay.
Because it would be so expensive to produce and manufacture and develop. Plastic's just a cheaper and better way of doing things.
And that, I guess, cost is also the reason that the C6 Agility boot, well, we've never seen it after the sample we saw. the prototype you had.
Yeah, that kind of was one of the things, because it's like if you're gonna mass produce a product, the more you make, the cheaper it's gonna be to produce. But realistically, how many were you ever going to sell?
Yeah, I mean, I'd take a pair if you're excited about them. Hell, I'd take it. I'll take 5.
Yeah, no, it was cool, but it's like you can't try to charge people a crazy amount of money for a single pair of boots, right?
But that's a pretty cool story, to be honest. I mean,
but no, the Superfly 4 sole plate's great if you want to buy a pair.
It's a lovely outsole, but apparently they fooled all of us. But I even to this day I still love it. I think it's a good outsole, but yeah, okay, wow, egg on my face.
Yeah, no, that was an eye opener to me too when I asked about that, because growing up that was like one of the coolest things ever, I thought.
Exactly.
But
I think that would actually be, we would be surprised if we saw what was inside even modern, especially modern boots, how cheap some of the materials actually are.
Yeah, well, they have to, I don't want to say cut corners, but the cost matters, right? Like that's what a lot of people don't understand, is like they're not just trying to make the best possible products, they're also a company that's trying to make money by selling products. So all of this factors in. Maybe we should
like take a knife and heat it up and cut boots into pieces. Oh wait. That's not a very good idea.
I've done that before, just without the heated part.
You've done some really stupid shit, Josh.
Yeah.
You've also been sliding around a parking lot in a pair of poor boots.
You
deserve the outrage you got.
Seriously, that is some of the most fun I've ever had making a video.
It looked really fun.
I know it outraged a lot of people, but man, that was really fun.
Did you get any like angry fan mail letters?
No, just a lot of
apart
people
from mine, obviously.
Very upset in the comments. See, a lot of people thought that they were like high-end Superflies, like actual Superflies, rather than it was just the victories, right?
Yeah, victories, yeah.
Yeah. So I was originally gonna do some high-end Superflies, but I decided I didn't want to sacrifice a proper pair of boots.
Yeah, good idea.
So
people would have come after you with torches and stuff. Joining me in the front. I mean, apparently the post service in Canada isn't the best, because I wrote a strongly worded letter to you expressing my very strong feelings about you in no uncertain terms. So,
never got it.
No. Thank you, post office in Canada, I guess. Do we have more questions, Josh?
No, I've run out of questions, and we're about at the time that we would normally stop. So
that's absolutely perfect. So any last words on the boot bonanza we've had this week?
Not really. I'm excited to get the Predators.
Yeah, you should be. You should be really excited. I'm excited what you have to say about them. Obviously, they look like normal Predators, but let's see what you make of them when you get them, and if you actually want to wear them. I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that next week.
Absolutely, man. And until then, what you should go and do is obviously remember to leave a like on the video. You obviously also want to go and follow Josh to see what he actually makes of the Predators when he gets them. So go subscribe to his channel right over there if you want to see what we're up to at Unisport. Amongst other things, the video we're going to do with Mr. Beckham and Mr. Zidane. Well, you can go subscribe to our channel over here. And don't forget to subscribe to the best podcast on YouTube, the Boot Nerds Podcast, by clicking right in the middle of your screen. Remember to like, tell your mom, tell your friends, leave some comments right down below, and audio-only versions are in the description. And with that said, guys, we're signing off. Cheerio.
See you later.
See you later.